All right, we're rolling. Let's jam. Let's get into it. Freedom Phil, like and subscribe and turn up the video speed. What's today's topic? I want to talk about how there's this trend that women are getting out of OnlyFans, OnlyFools. And some of them do the come to Jesus moment, but I don't buy it because I can see through the veil of shit. I'm just saying, it's total BS. Where am I going with this? Freedom Phil, like and subscribe, and always turn up the video speed. And why do I say that? Because you watch videos far faster. 1.5, 1.75. I watch things at 2.5 to 3 times the speed. Yeah, let's get into it. See, here's the thing. OnlyFans was a payday for a while there. I think there's a lot of chicks that were making less than $1,000 per month. Let's be honest about that. How many of those women were living on the system in America? How many of those chicks might have been overseas? It was a good deal for a time when it was a good deal. But now that it's overflooded with too many women and a new type of woman is showing up. And by the way, every time a little more competition comes into the field for women, women lose their minds about it. Just in the same way that women used to get angry about porn, because porn was a way for a guy to relieve himself, get the poison out, as some say. And now porn is so ubiquitous. I mean, this is also why some women hate trans women, because trans women, let's be honest, some people would do the booty hole. And that's one more option there. So more competition, but it's not a huge amount of competition. Plus, it's kind of a societal faux pas to be against the T's. But the giggle of it is that every time something basically relieves a little of the pressure, changes the mathematics of hoflation, as the term goes, lowers their value, women get mad. You remember back in the day when women got really mad about getting dudes going overseas, passport bros, or overseas wives. I remember some of these women, they get like, you only want that girl because she cooks and cleans and acts like an obedient wife. And it's like, guy was like, yeah, I like a lady. This is a kind of a funny thing to me. And not all women are like this. And by the way, the women that are smart know they stay thin and they know how to act like a lady. Because guys will work themselves into an early grave for a good woman. They will be, because you want to come home at the end of the day and your house feels like relief from the problems of your life. You don't come home to be some neurotic woman's therapist. And it's not even therapy for real shit. It's therapy for, like, I don't know, do you have some childhood traumas, or did your little gaggle of bitchy friends, did Becky do say something or something? That no guy wants to come home to that shit, And he listens and kind of nods because that's just what he has to do to keep on getting the pussy in our pussified Western society. No, by the way, those are things that you should hash out and settle. I'm a big believer that women and men need their own separate spaces. There's a good thing to have women having their own time with their ladies, just like men need their time with their bros. You don't always have to be together, and you don't always have to agree with everything. It's good to have your own space and have your own life and then come together to raise the family. That is perfectly fine. That worked for thousands of fucking years. And then modern world comes along and we try to make it this like weird mutation of the atomic family, the atom family, the nuclear family, where it's like you just basically got to be the henpecked husband, and that became more normal and normal. Which, and the funny part about that is women might settle with a guy that's a good, decent provider, makes decent money, he's okay in the looks, but that's after, and that's these days, that's after she's been played. She's done played herself. You'll see these cases where these women go out and they're chasing after the upper 5% of men. That's, by the way, that's why dating apps are fucking dying, if not dead. Because guys have just looked at it and go, what's the point of me being a decent guy and doing all this improvement? I mean, like, I'm the guys these women are going after the upper 5%. You'll see some of these guys are like criminals, have done some heinous shit, but women are still giving up the pussy for him because he's just got it. He's just, like, what was that song by Bananarama? He's got it. Oh, baby, he's got it. He just does. He's, Chad and Tyrone, the Thundercock brothers, I'm just saying, he's like the legend of T-Rash. None of those guys have to settle down. And then you treat all these other guys like lames, and fair enough. Look, ladies, I get it. I'm not telling you got to be with someone you don't want to be with. I mean, if the guy doesn't, if your vagina is a fucking desert, and he don't bring no moisture to the situation, I get it. It just doesn't work. And then down the road, and this, by the way, this is also what a lot of guys realized. A lot of you women, effectively, because you have been with so much caliber of man that is so fucking far above you, you are literally just a cum sock. You are a masturbatory. Your body is nothing more than masturbating for those chads. You are never going to be able to shake that level of sex. And therefore, you'll be comparing the guy that actually treats you like a queen, like he's some serf, some slave, and my God, I have to sleep with him. I don't feel like it. You're going to treat that man like shit. Now, more and more guys have realized that's the game. Now, we bring it back to the OnlyFans, the OnlyFools, and the passport situation, and men going overseas. And eventually, let's be honest, they're going to build robots. They've already built sex dolls. Now, what happens when they build robots that are thin enough, light enough? Look at carbon fiber materials, how light, how thin they can be. That could do the housework, do the cleaning. And eventually, like the AI is getting to the point these days where it's actually entertaining. It might be better than people. You know? Think about that for a second. When we get to that point where they could make a sex doll, love doll, that it's a housemaid and everything else. There's going to be a segment of guys that walk away in that regeneration that way too. Just like there's a lot of guys that just said, nope, I'm good. Just go do my own thing. They just picked up, went their own way. And they picked up their chips, left the casino, and they're like, have fun. I'm going to go do my own thing. And for the most part, let's be honest, ladies, a lot of those guys were the guys you didn't want to begin with. But when some of the top tier guys eventually get sick of the bullshit, that's when women started noticing. That was kind of the funny thing about my people, my crowd. It's like, yeah, you were all laughing until some top tier guy said, I'm just done with it. So we bring it back to the OnlyFools thing. And that AI bot, that AI girl, looks better than you. I mean, you can still tell the difference, but barely. And you know why they have got it down so good? Because look at how much digital information there is out there of pornography. Everything that ever could exist, would exist, has existed. And they can make it. And they can make it adjustable. You want this waist with these tits, with this ass. Just like ladies, you want this six-pack with this height, with this dongle. Anything you want, they can make it because they have so much information to work with. And here's the fucked up thing. Whatever weird kink you're into, yeah, the robot can just do that. The program can it isn't like a robot where it's like, there's actual physicality. It's a fucking program. It can do anything. You see a similar shockwave. What happened with you have the cutesy girls like on YouTube, the streamers, and then there was the VTubers, and I've seen women get mad about VTubers because they're like, well, why do they look so cutesy and young and all this? I don't know. Why do they look like anime characters? Because some people like anime characters. Some people like furries. Why? And then you see the regular women, and it's the regular women. Sorry, you age. But the bot, and by the way, one chick that does this really well, and she still looks really good. She's got a little older, but she looks really good. It's Natasha Nanners. She is actually a good-looking woman, but her character will always look good. And that, by the way, the wise women. By the way, here's something that a lot of people have also figured out when it comes to this whole situation. When the OnlyFools thing became like, thank you, blah blah blah. That's literally a group of dudes, probably some dudes in India, working, programming. They're taking your message. I'm so glad to see you, blah, 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 blah. And they're looking it over. Maybe they got a chat bot doing part of it, but they're reviewing it. And they're like, thank you. And then she just gets prompt to say, thank you, such and such. Or do this, turn around if it's like, OnlyFools. And do this, like shake your booty or whatever. The jig is up. Everybody realizes that they pulled the curtain back. Like the mask, the Scooby-Doo villain, the mask is off, motherfuckers. Everybody knows what it is. So now with the AI Plus, with everybody knowing what it is, just like with the VTubers, just like with all of it, yeah, ladies are realizing that the inflated situation where you got to pay this much more for the same shit and even worse quality than your dad had, your mother had, and your grandparents had, that's all going down the drain. That is going down the fucking drain now. So what do women do? Because there's always a sea of simps. And that's part of the reason men aren't worth anything, between all the other labor coming from other countries, the machinery, the government welfare, everything going out of its way to replace a man every time he turns. So, by the way, ladies, when you talk about women's problems, men have been, like, since at least the 40s, 50s, and definitely the 60s when the government got involved, men have been slowly being replaced. That's our value, our labor. We've always had to, be better than the next guy, better than the machine, better than the foreigner. Now women get a slight taste of that, and they have a come to Jesus moment. And here's the screwed up thing. This is one of my problems I have with a lot of religion and forgiveness. You can forgive somebody without taking a whore into your bed. Look, I don't have a problem if you want to throw your ass around, but do not, like, I'm not a religious person myself, but I get really sick and tired of the hypocrites. That's what I get sick and tired of. Like, okay, so you were throwing your ass around for the last, some 15 to damn near 30, if not 30, and now you want to say, now I found Jesus after showing my booty hole online. Jesus, 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 I was wrong. Forgive me. And there's going to be a bunch of simps that forgive you. But believe you me, those guys are going to be a next wave of divorces. Because like I said earlier, once that woman has had, the thunder from down under, the Thundercock brothers, once they've had that upper 5% of Chad Schlong, they'll never shake it. And they'll always be comparing their man that treats them like a queen to those guys that now wouldn't use them as a cum sock. Like I said before, this is a channel for adults. I talk about real shit and I'm offensive. If you're letting your kids watch this channel, you're a shitty person. But I point this out because it just seems funny. And that's, by the way, one of the crazier things I've heard lately is, like, you'll hear these stories about how black guys will go overseas, be passport bros. They might be looking for a wife in another country, like an Asian country or a traditionalist African country. And, they've made their money, they've worked, they made their assets in America, they're high producers. And then they go overseas, and these same women that were treating them like lames in their own country, they're like, say, America or UK or wherever, then they show up there and they're talking shit to these men because they're looking for women from other cultures. Why don't you date your own woman? Your mother would be crying. She saw you kissing an Asian, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? How psychopathic is that? Like, if was the urge to agree with the other hive mind of women so strong that you couldn't just get with one of your own people? Like, I'm saying, like, Americans. I'm not saying white, black, whatever. I'm just saying you got your own people. And you couldn't give those dudes the time of day, those decent dudes, programmers, engineers, plumbers, electricians, truckers. You couldn't give these dudes the time of day when they were in your country because, ew, those guys, gross. But the minute they go overseas, then you're trying to talk shit to them for finding love somewhere else when you kicked them out. And I think that example I heard the other day, I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, and the dudes are they're just like looking at them with a blank stare and ghost their ass. They're like, no, I'm not putting up with this. They go to another country, and the women over there, and by the way, I kind of feel bad for the dudes in the foreign country that live there, because it's like, now you got all these other men from other countries showing up with money, assets, and all this, and now you got to be this much better because, their women are treating their own men like shit. You're broke. You just have 3 goats. Bitch, what do you have? Well, I got a pussy and a booty. Jesus Christ. But yeah, some American, some European comes over there, somebody from the Middle East with money comes to some other country, and they start treating they treat these people they treat them with respect. Because they can bring a better life to this woman's life. Now imagine all these decent dudes keeping that money, keeping that family in America. But no. If you've learned anything from the whole OnlyFans experiment, it's that women will take the easy deal before they'll take their own decent men. Just think about how crazy that is. So, like, yeah, every time you see one of these women coming to Jesus after she's been a stripper, a prostitute, a something, like, okay, you can find Jesus, and I'm fine with you seeking out forgiveness. But that doesn't mean that everybody else, it's just like the whole thing. If somebody was a murderer, that doesn't mean, just because you went out and sought forgiveness from Jesus or the world or whatever, doesn't mean the person that you wronged, the family you wronged, has to fucking forgive you. Has to be like, forgiveness is one thing, but like, has to accept you and act like nothing ever happened. And I think that's what a lot of Western women are realizing, is that, yeah, even though the consequences aren't as bad as they used to be, there still are long-term consequences for throwing your booty around. And this is where we get to the end of this conversation of the most high-value woman in the West is a thin, attractive, intelligent woman with no debt, nobody else's kids, that doesn't have a body count. If you're highly educated and a virgin and you got a future going towards you, you can ask for the world on a silver platter from these men. Because you are the grade A number one thing that everyone's looking for. And as much as people think that it's derogatory to say this, the term no hymen, no diamond still holds weight. Because if you expect the top tier of men, you need to be the top tier of women. And you don't even have, what you have to look at was the irony of it is, what is top tier for women now used to be standard in my grandfather's day. So what happens to the rest of the women that are substandard comparatively to that? Well, just like the men that got thrown out with automation, foreign labor, and everything else, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. Just saying. It's something interesting to observe. Freedom Phil, y'all take it easy. Peace.